Okay, so for color mixing, I first want to show you the color wheel that I created, and we're going to be filling this in when I do the demonstration. So on the color wheel, your colors go in a certain order. So if we start with red, you can almost spell out, if you guys have ever seen this, Roy G. Biv, all right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Now sometimes you'll see a letter I in there, that's for indigo. I'm not worried, that's more for the more advanced color wheel. All right, so we have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. Now I talked to you about those intermediate colors. In between a primary and secondary, you add them together to get your red-orange. Here's a primary and a secondary. You add it together to get your yellow-orange. Now, for each of these intermediate colors, I want you to notice that some people are like, well, how do you know, is it supposed to be yellow-orange or orange-yellow? You always start it out with the primary color. So, yellow-orange, red-orange, yellow-green, blue-green, blue-violet, red-violet. So, the first color is always the primary one, just so you're aware of that. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is add in my primary colors onto the palette. Right? Hopefully I don't make too big of a mess. And you're not going to need a whole lot of each color. Let's do a blue over here. And we'll do yellow. Alright, so now that we have our primary colors, I'm not going to add in the white until a little later, but you'll need a brush and a palette knife. And the palette knife, I mean, it's plastic, it kind of bends. This is to help you mix your colors. Alright, so the first one that we want to do is we want to put a little bit of red right underneath here. So I'll get a little bit of my red. Add that underneath here, just so you guys are aware. Alright, so got the red. And now we're going to do a little bit of yellow right down here. Okay, and then we'll do our blue. Now I'm actually cleaning this up with water and a paper towel in between each color. Just make sure you rinse off your brush well enough. We got a little bit of blue over here. Alright. So now that we have our primaries, let's go ahead and mix our secondaries. Alright. So if we mix yellow and red, it'll make our orange. You want to start out with more of the yellow and add in a tiny bit of the red. So anytime you're mixing, you want to start out with more of the lighter color and slowly add in the darker color. So I'll move this up. So we're going to do our orange. Okay. So I'll take a little bit of this yellow. I'll put it over here. Get that off the palette knife. Take a tad bit of that red and start mixing it in. Now just for this purpose, we don't need a whole lot. But I think at this point I've made it's a little too light, so we'll come back in, grab a little bit more of the red. And we've made a pretty good like pumpkin type orange. Alright, so at this point, take a little bit of that, we'll put it right over here. You can see it. A nice orange. Now if you wanted it a little darker than that, you could add in a little bit more red. If you add in too much red, it's going to turn into more of the red than anything else, okay? It'll start to turn into that red-orange. So let's go ahead and see, because now that we want the red-orange, we're going to mix the red and the orange together. Let's Get a little bit more red. Add that in. Perfect. Now it might look a little bit better in person than on the video, but this is kind of as good as we got right now. So take that red, orange, we'll come in over here. Hopefully at this point you guys can see the difference between the two. Okay, it's a little bit darker than your regular orange that you have. All right. So now we're going to come in over here and we'll do our yellow and orange to get, our yellow and orange to make yellow orange, or intermediate. Same thing. We'll take a little bit of our yellow, put it in here. And let's see, I think we need to make a little bit more of the orange. So we'll put that over on that one. And then we need some red. Might be too much, we'll see. No, that's perfect, we're good. Okay, so the purpose of a yellow orange is that you want a lighter orange than you initially started out with. So we'll add in just a tiny bit of that from what was already on the palette knife. And it'll start to get more of that golden color. So think of like the Monroe gold color. That is a yellow orange. I think this is a pretty good one that I've mixed. It could potentially go a little darker if you wanted it to. Might look a little bit more like mustard also. Yep, that's a little darker than the yellow that we started out with, so that's good. Okay. And then next we'll put, let's go ahead and mix a green. So the green is going to be, if we want to mix green, we're going to mix our yellow and our blue, because it's right between those. So we'll just start out with the yellow that we have here. I'll take a little bit of that blue, start mixing that in. Do a little bit more blue. Make it a little darker. There, that's a good one. Maybe a little more. Okay. So we'll add in our green. Now let's go ahead and we'll mix a little bit of that green that we made with the yellow, and that way we can get a lighter green. So I'll just go ahead and use this paintbrush to mix that in. Good, so now we've got a light green, or like a yellow green. And now we need to mix that same green with a little more blue to get our blue-green. So we want it right in between the two. A little bit of the blue. A little bit more of the blue. All right, now we've got our blue-green. Good. Appreciate you guys being patient. All All right, so the next one is we want to mix a good violet, and we'll do the same thing that we've done for the other intermediate colors. So we'll get a little bit of our blue and a little bit of our red. Now, do you guys know which one would be considered lighter between the two, blue or red? Somebody yell one out. Blue or red? Red. Good. Tejan, did you say blue? All right, so I've started with my red because it's a little bit lighter than the blue. I'm going to bring in some of my blue over here, mix it in. I think that's a pretty good purple. You don't want to get too dark because then when you go to mix your blue violet, it's going to be like super, super dark. All right, so let's get a little bit of this violet on here. All right, should be a nice like grapey purple. Okay, here we go. I know up on the screen it looks a little weird, but I will bring this around to show you guys here in a moment. All right, so now we need a red violet, which is adding a little bit of red to there, and then we need our blue violet, which is adding a little bit more of the blue. So let's see if I could take some of this over here, because I need the violet for both of them. All right, so let's add a little bit more blue for the blue violet. I think that should be pretty good. It's a lot deeper of a violet color. So this can be our blue violet. And then we'll add a little bit of red. If I can get it. A little bit of our red to our violet. We're just going to make a lighter color. And we've got a lighter color. All right, so the last thing that I want to show you guys is it's easy to get, you know, different shades of your violets and your reds and different tints if you add in white and black. So a shade is adding in black and a tint is adding in white. So this is where I'm going to pull out the white paint. Put a little bit right here. Can't see it on there, can you? So I've added in my white. Oh, there's my black. That came out a little quick. Alright, so to any of these colors you can add in a little bit of black. So you want to be very careful how much you add in. So let's see, I think I've got a decent amount of green to work with. This color green, so we'll put that on two different sides of this palette. And I'm only going to do this for one color just to show you. So if you want to make that blue-green that we made a little bit darker, you're going to add in a little bit of black. So this is going to make more of like that hunter green, but this is making a shade. So if I put this further in, you'll see that it's a little darker. I could probably even add in a slight more amount of black to make it even darker. There we go. Darker green. And then let's add in a tint to that green, which is adding in white. If I can get it. Add in a little bit of white over here. And this will make more of like a mint green. So I'll show you right here. I can make it even lighter if I want to. Okay, and there you have it. That is color mixing.